Hi, Mark. Thanks very much for talking to us today.
Hi, Edmund. Good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. We'll start off with you telling us a little bit about your background in the industry and what it is that you do nowadays.
Sure. I've been managing internet companies for about 20 years. The last one was Immobilien Scout 24, which is the German market leader in online real estate classifieds from 2009 to 15, up till the IPO. And since then, I'm doing a combination of own investments, venture capital investments, and also taking a few non-exec mandates in the real estate tech space.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're investing in at the moment?
Yeah, I'm looking in the broader real estate tech space and marketplaces space, which is a widening ecosystem of ventures throughout the whole real estate value chain. And coming out of the origin of classified, which used to be more an advertising model where it's about lead generation for landlords and property owners or agents. And I see that going and evolving more into a ecosystem of tech-driven real estate transactions and management, and therefore there are lots of opportunities across these value chains.
Okay, how do some of these big classifieds companies that you have worked with or you've sat on the boards of compare to some of the other companies, the smaller companies, let's say, that you have been investigating and investing in? And what I'm trying to get at here is maybe the outlook or the excitement in the VC community, the ability to track talent, things like that. Do you see some of these classifieds companies sort of 10 years ago at a similar stage to what you're seeing some of these new companies at?
Yes, indeed. I think if you look at online classified today, at least in most international markets, it's a mature digital asset class. Mostly, most of them are in the billions of valuation, established model and matching seekers and sellers and agents. And therefore, they are also looking to evolve and emerge into the next generation, going into adjacencies of the real estate transaction or going into the transaction itself. So that's something where they evolve, and that on the hindsight also opens opportunities for new ventures who are in that ecosystem, would like to do some things differently or even use online classified as an exit channel.
Okay. So obviously we've established you've worked in, well, you've worked for Immobilien Scout. I think I'm right in saying you're on the board of directors at Idealista and have been at Property Guru as well. Why is it that when you decided to maybe come out of the industry, you decided to move towards PropTech and not to invest in early stage classifieds? Is there something specifically about PropTech that really drew you in? Or do you think that maybe the opportunities in traditional classifieds business models are maybe fading somewhat?
I think there are not so many early stage online classified models, at least in the big mature markets anymore, because it's a mostly winner takes all market. You have a clear market lead in every major market with strong network effects such as Idealista, Rightmove, REA and others, which is very difficult to disrupt. And therefore, I found it more intelligent with my, let's say, as a business angel, very early stage, limited funds to go into more innovative models, which are in that huge asset class of real estate offers many more opportunities to grow.
Okay, yeah, good answer. One thing I'm interested in, and something that always strikes me as a relative newcomer in the industry, and something that I'm keen to talk to you about as somebody who has worked or worked with some of these big classifieds giant, is that it seems to me a very similar business model, no matter where you go. So for me, I don't know if this is true or not. It just seems like it doesn't matter if you're in the UK, it doesn't matter if you're in Southeast Asia, in Spain, in wherever, it seems to be a very similar business model. I just basically, I want someone to disabuse me of this. I want someone to tell me it's not. It's all actually very different no matter where you go. And you seem like somebody who might have the knowledge and the sort of the nuance in what they've done to disabuse me of that theory. Is it true? Is it not?
No, it's mostly true, I would say, because obviously the most simple model of a classified model where you match buyers, seekers, and the supply side through agents or landlords is obviously like the old newspaper model also was the same in every country. So the basic model is pretty much similar across the world. However, I think I'm always a big believer in that you need to look at the local market structures. Is there a market directly from landlord to buyer? Are there markets where data is available or not? How's the tax? For example, iBuying is a kind of fashion of the month at the moment. But that model only works where you have relatively low transaction costs, like in Anglo-Saxon markets, for example. And therefore, I think you always need to look a bit closer in order to assess whether a model which is somewhere else established or seem to be successful is also applicable to a local market.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What do you think at the moment are some of the biggest challenges, both for some of these bigger classifieds companies that you're working with or have worked with, and also for some of the earlier stage PropTechs that you've been investing in and investigating? Are there similarities at all?
Sure. I think for the online classified, it's a question of how to keep innovative and keep double-digit growth in a market which has reached certain saturation, kind of 60% market shares. Every agent, every landlord is online. So there's not much to take from print anymore, like in the past 20 years. So I think it's a question, where does growth come from? And that's a question I think most online classifieds are asking themselves, and they do go different routes. Some just raise prices, others try to be more innovative and find adjacencies or extend their value proposition to their to target groups, or even, for example, Scout at the moment looks into a third target group, the owner, which has historically not been a very direct target group of an online classified model, but more and more becomes one. So they evolve from a two-sided market into a three-sided market. So that's what I see on the classified side. And for PropTechs, it's always, I think the issue, they are mostly B2B models, or B2C on the one hand, B2B on the other hand. So it's about how do you get traction? How do you, given relatively long sales cycles, really prove your model and then evolve and grow fast enough?
Okay, zooming in specifically on the PropTech sector, one thing that I have read in several different articles and put in several different ways is that there are an awful lot of PropTech companies, and many of them perhaps are solving problems that don't exist. Is this fair? Is it something you agree with? And what do you, as an investor, really look for in a PropTech company?
I think first you need to look at what is PropTech. What do you mean with PropTech or real estate tech? There's various subsectors of this. It has started mostly around digital agent models, transaction enabling models, and evolved into data-driven lead generation, into tenant management, digital property management, even up to construction tech models. So there's and financing, etc. So there's a whole of subsectors, and I think they're all trying to make this real estate value chain and the decisions to be made easier or more efficient. And obviously some are more niche cases and some are more wider and have a bit market potential. And that is something which I look at beyond the founder team. How big is the market and how big is the problem these people are solving?
And how do you normally do that? I mean, is it something that you have to spend an awful lot of time and money researching, or is it something that comes inherently from your time working in a, let's say, an adjacent industry such as classifieds?
I think given my background, obviously, and the fact that the real estate market in every country is per se a very big market, then you need to look at, is this applicable just to one asset class like residential, commercial, or investment? And what is the kind of underlying efficiency or market value this specific PropTech really addresses? So, and that answers you also the question how internationalizable this is, because often real estate markets are relatively local. So you could say, like in my Vermietet.de, for example, is probably a digital property management solution first for the coming years for Germany only, but the market is big enough because you have about 1 to 2 million private landlords, which is a very attractive group. If you really reach this and reach high penetration, that can be a unicorn venture just in Germany.
Wow, okay. Second to last question, which kind of will lead into the last question, I guess. As someone with an eye on a lot of markets which are adjacent to online classifieds, what's really exciting you at the moment? Are there any possible crossovers between online classifieds and some of these PropTech companies? I mean, do you look at some of these big online classifieds as exit routes for some of these PropTechs that you're investing in, for example?
Yes, obviously, the online classifieds are always an exit channel because they're cash rich, they have huge market valuation, and they're interested to grow further. So they're natural exit channels for my early stage investments. I think, but this is not something which I look at the beginning. At the beginning, I'm really looking into how good is the team and how big is the problem they're going to solve. And given the data, which is more and more available, especially in markets where, other than some of the Anglo-Saxon markets where the data is openly available, you can gather data in an intelligent way, and out of this now generate new business model. That's something which excites me, and that maybe even disrupt the agent market or the way how we transact real estate.
Okay, so picking up on your last point there, are there any examples, anything that you're really excited about in the industry at the moment? It can be something that you've invested in, it could be something that you just think might end up being a big business in the future. I'm really fascinated to know from people who know more than me.
I was always fascinated by the opportunity to enable private sellers to sell and completely digitalize a transaction in a C2C way to buyers. Because at the moment, if you look at the transaction, an agent is involved, many other steps are involved, banks are involved. This is all quite cumbersome and taking 6 to 9 months. If you make this whole process more efficient, that would be a fantastic value add, not only for investors, but also for the people. Okay,
so the sort of the nirvana of classifieds everywhere, which they're not allowed to talk about unless they're Zillow then.
Yeah, it would be, I think, as more Zillow 2.0 or 3.0, if you want, more to C2C marketplace, which is not only matching buyers and sellers, but really enables the whole transaction.
Okay, well, Marc, thanks a lot for talking to us today. I really enjoy talking with people who've been in the industry for a long time and who are very well versed in everything that goes on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Edmund. Have a good afternoon.